Hello everyone and welcome to my new video of how to make your own Discord bot in Python. So let's get started. So guys, in today's video we're gonna see how to work with slash commands. So as you know, it's an inevitable reality to move to slash commands because if your bot is in more than 75 guilds, then message intents will be a privileged intent for you. You could read more about that, link in the description. So let's get into it. So guys, either you could switch to another language like JavaScript, C Sharp, Go or Rust, or you could switch to another framework in Python like Hikari. But there's an alternative to that. You could even use some Python fork. So for the sake of simplicity, we're gonna go with Python fork because you need not to change anything in your code. Just make sure your code is compatible with the discord.py 2.0 version because we're gonna use a Python fork, namely Pycord, for slash commands, which is just the API wrapper. And even if you don't want to use Pycord, you could switch to some other fork of discord.py. But the basic notion of this video is to get you an idea of how slash commands work. Firstly, just do pip uninstall discord.py and we're gonna install the master branch of Pycord. I've given this in the description, you could just copy paste that and make sure you have git installed in your system. Once the module is installed, you need to go to your bot's developer portal, head to OAuth2, go to URL generator and select the bot and application commands parameter. We require the application commands for slash commands, and for now I'm just gonna go with administrator privileges. Now this is the new link. You need to provide this link. Even if your bot is already in some servers, you need to provide the authorization by just opening this link. Just reselect the server in which your bot is and just continue and authorize. We can start coding. So even after uninstalling discord.py, you need not to change anything in your old code because it's just a Python fork. It won't affect anything in your present code. I've made you install the master branch because it has many additional features and many external modules as well, which are fairly nice. So first of all, we'll start by importing Discord. Now, in order to create a slash command, you just need to have a decorator of bot.slash command, and you could have a description like, let's say this command's description is test1, right? And you need to have a guild ID in order to test your command. Basically, what difference does it make is if you don't provide a guild ID, it will register commands and it will take around an hour to register. So what I suggest is provide a guild ID, and once you're sure that your command is perfect, then you just remove this and it will automatically register it to your all of your guilds. It will take an hour, but you can just leave it overnight. All of your commands will be registered at once. Now I'm just gonna define async def test slash test. Alright, and we can have a ctx parameter, and I'm just gonna simply like await ctx.respond. We do respond rather than send in this case because it's a slash command, and I'm just gonna say slash command successful. So I just created a simple command which is just command test, and it has ctx.send normal command successful. This is just to depict that your word is working. So just save the file and run it once and check if there are any errors. And also, this reminds many of you were having several errors in my image profile and AFK command video. So what I suggest is, rather than commenting in the YouTube section, you could join my Discord server. Link is in the description. There are considerably many coders who could help you out. I'm just gonna check for my slash text and say slash command successful YouTube. Yeah, it says normal command successful. So if you receive any error in the terminal, then make sure that your bot has the application commands authorization. Or I'm just gonna remove this command. This was just to depict that these can work fairly easily. Now I'm just gonna provide some parameters. So I'm just gonna rename this as entry, something like this. Description will be. Now let's firstly go with name parameter. Now we need to import one module which will be like from discord.commands. We're gonna import option. So this option thing is really cool. You could read the docs. I've given the link in the description. This is just to provide you a basic ideology of how slash commands work. It need not to be Pycord. You could use some other fork or some other framework, but the basic idea is the same. So I'm just going to choose the option, and it will have the firstly data type. So data type will be something like, it will be string, of course. Then we'll say enter the name. This is going to be the display text. We can have other parameters as well. I'll show in the other options. And let's have some parameter like age. Its data type will be integer, and of course we'll say enter the age. Then we can have a max value and minimum value. I can just enter a minimum value as maybe 11, let's go with it, and max value to be, let's go 25. And we can have a third parameter as, let's say, member. The data type is going to be discord.member, right? So it's going to show the options for all the members who come into the category of discord.member. We can have other stuff like color maybe. I'm just showing you all the diversification we have in this so that you could get an idea of how slash commands work. I'm just going to go with string, and it's going to be right, and we're going to provide choices in it. So choices can be a list. I'm just going to go with green. It should be RGB, but anyways, and you can have maximum 25 choices. You need to make sure of that. Organization string, but I'm just gonna make it optional. I'm gonna say enter the organization name, and I'm gonna provide something like this. I'm just gonna write that default value will be untitled, and I'm gonna show how to make default value. So I'm just gonna say default is equal to untitled, and let's have the required to false. So this parameter will not be required. And the interesting part in slash commands is that you need not to pass that multi-quag thing, and you can have like name of 3 or 4 characters, whatever you want, words I should be saying perhaps. Now let's print something, and also make sure to make the lowercase, because you cannot have parameters as uppercase when it's in chat input. Basically this is the thing with slash commands. I'm just gonna go with entry, and as you can see, I can enter a name. I can just have as many spaces as I want, as and then I can have an age, and let's try inputting something bigger, and it says an error, and the error is integer, enter input an integer from 11 to 25. So I'm just gonna go with 14, though I'm 15 lemon. And as you can see, as soon as I went to the member parameter, it showed all the available members. And then I'm gonna go with color. Let's go with blue. And organization, it's an optional parameter, let's not give it. Okay, and here we go. It says hello code stack, age 15, tag blah blah blah, color blue, organization untitled. Now there is one more parameter that is ephemeral, and it will not store the information of this message in the database of Discord. It will just show this message to you, and we can even edit the message. Let's store in it some interaction. So I'm just gonna say await async IO. I need to import it. You need to pip install it if you don't have it. This is just used to sleep. I'm just gonna make it sleep for 2 seconds, and I'm just gonna say await interaction dot edit original message, and I'm just gonna say edited. Alright, so this should pretty much work. Let's try running it. Alright, so I'm gonna call the command. It will be entry. Alright, so we got an error. It was to be content. My bad, I just forgot to write that, because it is in the content of the message. It is an interaction, we cannot just put the text in it, right? So I called the command, it gave me the tag, and it's edited. So that is how we edit messages. Now let's get with the subcommands in slash commands. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a slash command group, namely test, and it's going to be slash command group. I'm going to provide the name. So name going to be text, it's going to be lowercase, and we're going to also provide the guild IDs for this. So I'm just going to pass it here only, and let's create a few commands with it. So I'm just going to provide the decorator and this, and this I'm just going to say command. Alright, so I made 3 commands, and I'm going to have add this group into the bot commands. Or also I forgot a comma here, my bad. And I'm just gonna say bot.add application command, and I'm just gonna pass my test. This is the command, and these are the subcommands in slash command, and we cannot have more than 5 as per the directions of Discord. It's just not a practice. So let's try running it. As you can see, I've got test A, test B, test C. So I'm just gonna call test A. It works. Test B. It works. Test C. Sorry, test C. And it works too. So these are 3 subcommands, and they work perfectly fine. Now let's have some other command with permissions. Slash commands have their own permission guilds, but they're not so self-sufficient. With Pycord, what we're going to do is we're going to use the commands from discord.extension for the commands permission or the cooldown. So let's create a quick command. Now I'm going to provide a cooldown to this. So I'm just going to say commands.cooldown. Now make sure this commands is not discord.commands but discord.extensions.commands. So you need to make sure of that. I'm just going to say 1 and let's keep the timeout as 60, and the bucket type as commands.bucketType.user. Let's have a few more cooldown like commands dot has permissions, and I'm just going to say kick members is equal to true. So of course I have the kick members permission, so let's have another one with has role, and we'll have to pass the role ID. So this is just one role in my server which I don't have it, so I'm just gonna comment both of them. We're gonna try one by one. So I'm just gonna call cooldown first. Now in order to error handle and just it's just really simple, it's just gonna be bot.event. And also one thing I forgot to mention, that you need not to do add application commands when you're using them in cog. So in the event I'm just gonna say async def on ctx and error. And we have actually done this command in previous videos, so I'm just not gonna explain. I just did this is seconds. You can convert this into hours or minutes according to the cooldown. I've just changed it to respond, and I've made the ephemeral is equal to true, so that the warning is only showed to the user rather than everyone. It's just to avoid spam. Let's try running it. Bot is loaded. I'm just gonna call the command function. It says you have the perms, great. I'm just gonna call it again, and it's gonna say you are on cooldown rewrite after 56 seconds. And as you can see, I can see this message. Let me call this again, and it changes it to 47 seconds. Yeah, let me uncomment the role permissions. I'm just gonna call the command, and as you can see, it says you do not have the specific role to run this command, and that is what exactly we wanted. This role is actually basis of Chinatsu. Yeah, it's a bot. This is not gonna have effect on me, for I am admin in the server, so it works fine. Now there's one last thing to discuss, basically last considerable thing to discuss. There's a lot more in slash commands. I provided the docs of Pycord in the description, you can check them out. Also, this is of course not the best way to handle the application command, but you could join Pycord's official server to get regular updates of their modules, or you could, of course, anytime switch to another fork. It's not a big deal. Now, let's say you've made some command which takes more than 3 seconds to send the message. Then, in that case, it's going to show an error. Let me give you an example. So, this is just the command I made of anime character. I have discussed about this command in my previous videos. I've just turned it into slash commands, and I've got an option for string enter the character name, and I've got like an exception which just responds if there is no corresponding anime found, and it deletes after 6 seconds. Everything else is exactly similar. Now let me try running it. Now let me call this command character, and let's say Tanjiro. So as you can see, it says the application did not respond, and it shows an error that unknown interaction not found. So what we need to do is we need to say ctx.defer. So if there is a possibility that the message will not be sent, then you need to defer the ctx. And you cannot have ephemeral is equal to 2 in the follow-ups of this deferring, because you need to provide the ephemeral is equal to false in the header, and this will override everything like ephemeral in this or this. So you need to have a common ephemeral in both of them. So I'm just gonna remove it because I'll just keep it as it is. And in this respond, you need to say interaction dot follow up dot send, and yeah, it should work. Yeah, let's try running it. The bot is running. I'm just gonna search for character and Jaeger. Europe is thinking. This is just the deferring. It's taking a lot of time because my pinch latency is not that good, and here it comes. So it works perfectly fine, and there's a lot more in slash commands. I just cannot cover all of it in just one video. There are autocomplete as well. You could check their docs, check their repo. I've provided everything in the description. That is it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe and share for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.